Okay, before we do part 3 of the switching, let's make some corrections. So the Atlas engine does come with paperwork. It's not obvious. I wish they would put a sticker or something on it saying where it's at. So take this out. Underneath that there's another foam pad, and there's where all the paperwork is. And it's actually pretty good paperwork. So probably everyone except me knew that. I mean, here's the parts list. There's the warranty. And then there's a thing about the ESU and the CBs and stuff. So apologize to Atlas. It's just not obvious to me because it's hidden so well. And I can see why they don't want the paperwork rubbing against the engine. You know, why they would put that little foam pad there. But it's just not obvious where it is. So kudos to Atlas. It's pretty good, really. Talk about the volume. I actually turned the volume down on the SD35. It was too loud. So I'm not wanting to be blown out. I just think that the GP40 should be higher, and it's at max volume now. The GP7 has ESU loc sound in it, and I think that's the same as the other engines, because I think Atlas uses ESU loc sound in it. And the GP35 without sound has a Digitrax decoder in it. That's what Benjamin installed in it. So I think those are all the things that I messed up. At least those are all things that Benjamin pointed out to me. I've only had a couple of comments so far on the video. It's pretty long, so I apologize for that. So without any more talking, let's get into part 3 of the switching. All right, I'm going to narrate this with nature sounds. First thing we have to do is to pull the train up to get on the other track, get on the eastbound main. Now if you remember, I set 2 boxcars out there earlier, so I don't have enough clearance between those boxcars to get the whole train out, so we're going to have to push a couple onto them and push them forward so we get the whole train on the eastbound main. Probably going to get some nature sounds out of me. I'm doing a voiceover instead of talking while I switch. And I'm sitting outside. We're having our heating and air conditioning replaced. And so right now we have no heating and air conditioning. And it's pretty warm in the house. It may be a pretty miserable night. So hopefully not. But so we're clear of the switch, so we can uncouple the 2 cars we pushed forward. We'll come back and get them later, and then we will back down across Douglas Avenue and begin to switch. So I'm throwing the turnout. First thing we're going to have to do is pull the boxcar from Miller Distribution. And then we have to open the gates and go on down into ITT Grinnell to pull those 2 cars. The car in spot 1, the rail box, has to be respotted, so that complicates the moves a little bit. Now, I decided to do this all just like continuous flow, so I wasn't going to stop and take the roof off. I did have to stop a couple times because of chance, and I did move the camera once. So I had to make sure that the cars were coupled. I was trying to reach in through the door here with my uncoupling stick. Thought they were coupled, they weren't, so I stuck my stick in there to make sure I got them coupled. So then we're going to pull the whole string out. Another complicating factor of this was the because I didn't want the background sound of the ceiling fan. I always turn that off when I shoot these videos, but it's pretty warm in there right now. So, but I wanted to get this out tonight so I could have the corrections. All right, so we threw the turnout. Now we're going to push everything back west and leave the car that we just pulled. Actually, we're going to leave everything past the gondola there so we can spot the B&O car in front of ITT Grinnell. Hopefully you can hear the birds behind me. It's a nice evening, but it's starting to get kind of warm. So Chance is walking around, a lot more active today. All right, he's kind of driving me crazy a little bit. He's so active, but it's good to see. The diarrhea is back though, so treating that again. All right, so we threw this turnout. Now we're going to push the B&O car in, and we'll stop and leave it in front of ITT Grinnell. For safety reasons, I always try to couple the two cars together and do one push into the building instead of making two separate pushes. That's the way the company wants us to do it. So we'll leave the B&O boxcar there, and we'll pull back forward, and we'll go back and get the rail box car, couple them together, and then we will push them into ITT Grinnell. And again, I usually, just because it's easier for me, I uncouple right outside the building and just push them in by hand. The battery went dead on my gimbal, so I was just swiveling this by hand, and sometimes I wasn't real smooth. Now we got a helicopter going over. All right, they're coupled, so now we can push them into the building. And we'll stop about there so I can uncouple them. So we're going to spot that Burlington Northern insulated boxcar at Miller Distribution after we get rid of the cars behind it. comes the helicopter again. Sorry about that. Real world sounds tonight. And there's some fire trucks back there too. This sort of sounds like there's some kind of parade, because the fire trucks and the police cars aren't really running their sirens, and there's some horns beeping. Maybe the county high school won something. Maybe they won the state championship. I don't think they'd be graduating this early in May on a Wednesday evening. I'll see how this sounds, and may end up re-recording the whole thing, because we got the helicopters flying back and forth, horns beeping, sirens. All right, we've spotted the reefer. Got ahead of myself. We're spotting the reefer. Okay, so I had to cheat here a little bit because I've got 4 cars here and 2 cars I need to run around. What I ended up doing was putting my track connection to Oak Hill back in so I would have the space to put those 4 cars there. So when I go back and get the 2 cars I need to at the other end of the layout, I can run around them. I don't have, that tail track is not long enough for 4 cars and the engine to do a runaround. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm going back to get those 2 box cars that we left up there. So when the Oak Hill extension is in, switching will be a little bit easier. My tail tracks won't be limited like they are now. The reason why I shot all from the same angle is because the gimbal was dead, like I said, and I do switch it up here in a minute, show the long angle, but I'm working on something, a different angle, but I haven't got the stuff yet to do it. So we're pulling the 2 box cars up, and once we're just shy of Douglas Avenue, I'll uncouple. And I'll run around those, and I'll switch the camera view for the last minute or so. Alright, so I found a place to put the little tripod on the layout, so I thought I'd shoot the end view here. So we're going to run around 2 boxcars, and then we will push them back a couple onto the other 4 cars, and we'll pull forward back eastbound. I had to throw the turnouts there, that's why I had to stop. We'll pull back eastbound into the yard. So I'm going to have to do some research. Normally, especially if it's a hazardous material, you're not allowed to have tank cars next to the engine. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but like I said, on a road freight, they always have a spacer car, at least one spacer car. But when it's empty, I'm not sure if the same rules apply. So all that switching I did may have been technically against the rules. Maybe I should have done some extra switching and put a buffer car in there. I'll try to find out. I try to be as realistic as possible, but when you're constrained by space in the model railroad, sometimes it's these switching moves are a lot harder than it would be. This area in Chillicothe actually is about 5 or 6 tracks wide. So they have a lot more options to switch and to run around and things than I do. All right, so we're going to couple onto the tank car. Alright, so now we're heading back east. So as soon as the train is out of sight, I'm going to stop the narration and check it, see if it's any good. And if it is, this is what you're going to hear. If it's not, ignore this. I need to get Chance back inside. When he's outside, for some reason, he will not lay down. We put his bed out here. Maybe if we left him out here for hours, he would. But he's more active than he needs to be. So the whole time I've been doing this, he's just been, he'll stand for a couple minutes and then he'll run around the yard. So, okay, everybody stay safe. And I'm going to give a layout update probably for my next video as soon as we get some air conditioning.